definitely on a very pertinent subject, integrating the two big powerhouses, CQ and Hybris, together. And for this meetup, we're going to be in the company of Drew Glass. So Drew is a senior consultant now. He's our lead on the AEM CQ practice. And Drew joined us 2012, I think. 2011. We rescued him from the rigors of postgraduate study, and then got him into the real world of real programming. And you've been pretty much on CQ, I think, the whole time.
Yeah.
So he's become a real CQ ninja for us. And he's been also, in the last few months, getting very familiar with Hybris, and looking back at some of the work we've been doing, and also what's on offer from both products at the moment. So without any further ado, I'll let Drew take you through how to integrate CQ and Hybris, or WEM.
AEM.
AEM. How keep up these days?
Whatever acronym is.
Hi, my name's Drew Glass, as Tom said. I'm the AEM practice lead here at Tacit Knowledge. I've been working with AEM for about 3 years now, and have a little bit of familiarity with Hybris. I think enough to really talk, to get into some of the details about this subject. And before I begin, I don't know if you guys heard, yesterday SAP, the owner of Hybris, announced that they're going to be offering a packaged solution of CQ5 and Hybris. So not only has this been on our radar, but it's something that's very important to SAP and Adobe now that they're partners on this. So what are we going to talk about tonight? I'll start off a little bit with why you'd want to do this, what companies it'll work for, those that it won't. And then I'll go into a little bit of a detail about 2 ways to do this. There's an e-commerce led way where you would have Hybris out in front. And we did a custom Hybris AEM integration that I'll use as an example. And then there's the content management system-led integration, which I'll be using the official AEM Hybris integration as an example. Who is this for? It's really for companies where brand is of chief importance. So it's companies that have a brand which they want to be familiar and recognizable across all experiences and channels that they have. And with companies like this, they really demand consistency with their brand across all the channels. So this type of solution would really fit them. Another good example of companies that this works great for are those that want to tell a vivid story through a premium experience. And they're doing this through all stages of the customer lifecycle. So not only when you land on the .com, but also when you get to the store. And last but not least, contextual experiences. A lot of customers are demanding personal content these days. And it's very difficult to deliver that if you have 2 siloed solutions, or if you just have an e-commerce solution. Things like personalization, situational data, behavioral data. Those things really only make a lot of sense if you have a solution that works both across content management and e-commerce. So who is it not for? So it's not for companies who are concerned about just selling products right now. These are your companies like department stores, retail brands, focused purely on selling. They don't manufacture their own products, and they don't really need to tell a story across channels with those products. They're only really concerned about conversions. And it's also not really for companies with simple, but more importantly, complex commerce. These would be your commerce verticals like hotels or airlines that have complex, unconventional checkout processes. This might not work for them. And then lastly, maybe the most obvious one is it's for companies that can't handle the complexities of an integration like this, or they can't handle the cost. And one of the reasons why is a lot of companies I would say, overestimate their maturity for an integration like this, integrating two best of breeds. And what they're thinking is that technology will solve all of their problems, when that's really not the case. They really have to have solved a lot of problems at the organizational level, have experts in merchandising, content management, before they can start looking at something like this. So what's an example? Here we have Nike.com. Let me try to get over here. And we worked on the AEM e-commerce integration for Nike.com on the AEM side. And as you can see, Nike does a pretty good job of telling a vivid story with their experience. And if we go to the sports section, basketball, they have very timely content for March Madness. And then right now they're releasing the new Kobe shoe. And what they're doing here with AEM is, I think, telling a story, literally weaving together the technology here that's used to create the shoe, Flyknit. And then we can scroll down and see more examples of Kobe with a carousel, and then see more examples of the technology. We've got support, stability in the heels, and then cushioning in the soles. So right here, Nike's using AEM to deliver creative content, vivid stories, and you can see at the top that you can immediately go shop for these shoes if they weren't sold out right now. So this is a Hybris meetup, obviously. That's why you're all here. In May 2013, Gartner rated Hybris as one of the leaders for e-commerce, along with Oracle and IBM. And during the same time period, Gartner rated AEM as the leader for content management, citing several reasons: intuitive, user-friendly authoring interfaces. Adobe has a complete vision and strategy for supporting mobility. And obviously, them being Adobe, they recognize the importance of design. So what do you get when you combine AEM and Hybris? You get what I'm calling omnichannel squared. So a few years ago, omnichannel, or 2 years ago, omnichannel was a big buzzword. And I think you can really realize omnichannel when you combine two best of breeds. You really do get that omnichannel commerce solution. Together, they offer personalized shopping experiences, increased brand awareness, and they give you the ability to communicate consistently across all channels. So as is the case with a lot of integrations, there's more than one way to do it. And tonight I'll be focusing on two ways. The first being an e-commerce-led solution. And I'll be using the example of GHD.com, which is an integration between Hybris and AEM that Tacit Knowledge implemented. And then the second one being more of a content management system-led integration, and I'll be using the official Adobe AEM integration with Hybris. And I'll be doing a small demo to sort of highlight a lot of the ways that AEM is driving the experience for that. So on GHD, for them it was really all about showing off their brand. And that's why they chose to integrate a content management system like AEM with Hybris.
And GHD is?
Good Hair Day. They're a hair straightener company. They also sell other hair products.
I know. I don't think the greater
I appreciate you asking the question because I didn't want to ask it.
See, you're welcome.
So this e-commerce-led solution really was a custom Hybris AEM integration. It's one of the first between both Hybris and AEM, and it was highly touted by both groups and multiple publications, Adobe and Hybris. And it really worked out for GHD because they were an unconventional merchant. They really wanted to support their iconic brand. I know most of you haven't heard of them, but it's still iconic. With creative content.
Huge.
With creative content and social, as well as having a store. So how do they do this? Here we have a screenshot of AEM. Some of you more Hybris-focused people may not recognize this, but this is the authoring interface for AEM. Probably looks a little bit better than Hybris. On the right-hand side, you've got a content finder, and this is where you typically find your assets and other types of things to put onto a page. And one of the things that we did to enable this integration is we built a custom content finder tab that's pulling in products, so you can see a thumbnail, the product name, the product category and pricing. Pulling it in via Ajax, it's hitting a controller on the Hybris side, getting products for this particular locale, I think, which happens to be ENGB, or English Great Britain. And it's displaying them over there. And in the middle, we have more of kind of what you would call unstructured marketing content. So it gives you the ability to add articles, images, add these things in sort of any way that you want. On the right, we've got a place where you can drag and drop the products from the left-hand side. So here's an example where the user has grabbed the product on the left, is dragging it over to the right, and they let go. And now we have this nice-looking ceramic brush. And we have the name and the pricing. And when that happens, a little bit of information, the non-volatile information gets stored in the JCR. I'll be going over some more of these details later. And the more volatile information like pricing is pulled in via Ajax.
Can you tell one more time on the how you're getting that the left-hand side?
Left-hand side is a controller or service on the Hybris side. So we're taking essentially what is the catalog or the locale in CQ, ENGB, giving that, making a request to Hybris, using that, and then they're returning to us all the products. And you would also be able to do a search in the content finder.
So as opposed to importing the catalog in advance.
Exactly. So you're not importing the entire catalog. The only things that you're storing in CQ5 is what the products that get dropped onto the page. And then here we have a little bit of the authoring on the Hybris side. Here we've added the external component to the page. And it's a very, very simple component. Really, all we're putting in here is the path to the page that we created in CQ5. So there really isn't any authoring on the Hybris side. It's just making references back to CQ5 to grab things like the home page or articles.
What is the server that's hosting that page to the end user, or that's presenting the page to the end user? Is it the eCommerce?
It's Hybris, yeah. It's the eCommerce-led solution. And here we have the technical design and roles for authoring. So it starts off with your PIM user on the Hybris side. So they're entering in product information inside the product catalog, normal things you would do in Hybris. And then on the AEM author side, just like we saw before, there's RESTful calls being made back and forth to get products into the content finder. The AEM then will grab one of those products, drop it onto the page, and that's when we're saving things from the web content management system into the database or the CRX. And then finally, number 3, the Hybris author will take the path to that page, for instance, the home page or an article, and put it into Hybris. Obviously, there could be smarter ways of doing that. Just looking at in AEM, looking at folder structure to pull that information, but that little bit was still authored on the Hybris side. So, how does a shopper interact with the system? It's sort of the reverse of what I just said. So the shopper is hitting the Hybris WCMS. WCMS makes a request to AEM Publish to grab the home page. From there, we're hitting the CRX to get all the non-volatile product information that was stored in the CRX. Returning all of that back to Hybris, number 4. And then when the page is rendered on the client side for the shopper, there are some AJAX calls that are made back into the product catalog to fill out the pricing information. This worked quite well for GHD because they had a pretty small set of products, not very many SKUs. And what they ended up doing, having was about 2/3 of their content in CQ5, like the homepage articles, and about 1/3, which was product detail pages in Hybris. So considerations for doing something like this, where you have an e-commerce-led solution. Obviously, it's a custom integration. Neither one of these companies support the solution. So you're going to be working with an SI to build something like this, or if you're an SI, you're building it. And things that go along with that are support, introduces complexities, and can increase the cost. Another consideration is since CQ5 or AEM is relegated to being more of a content repository back office tool, you really don't get to take advantage of all the sort of cloud marketing services in CQ5. Those would be things like Site Catalyst for analytics, Scene 7 for your images and videos, and personalized content maybe via Adobe Test and Target. So all these things are driven on the client side for CQ5. If CQ5 is not out front rendering the pages, you have to build some sort of integration in between AEM and Hybris to make these things work. And then the last one, authors need to learn 2 tools. They have to have quite a bit of understanding of where to go to author what. They have to know have a good understanding of the technology landscape. So in summary, for this type of integration, for the responsibilities, quite a bit more since Hybris is out in front. For their side, they're serving up pages, detailed product information, the shopping cart and checkout. Hybris is also responsible for the product information management. Hybris is doing the product information search, community features, and then also the very e-commerce-y type things, processing, shopping cart, checkout, and order fulfillment. And on the AEM side, again, it being more of a content repository, but you still get all those great authoring benefits of using AEM. You get to use it for obviously marketing content. I mentioned the authoring tools, but one of the downsides is limited product information. We're not importing everything. We're not creating product detail pages. We're just mixing a little bit of product information in with content. And then finally, to make it all work, CQ5 has to request some of the product information from Hybris.
The reason you would do this kind of implementation versus AEM-led implementation is because you're strong in Hybris. There's no other reason I can think of, because you're losing a lot and you're really not, I mean, AEM specializes in front end and you're using Hybris' front end. So something is convoluted there. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, and I agree with you. We did this back in 2011, 2012, before there even was the official Adobe AEM integration. There was no e-commerce framework in CQ5. At the time, it was AEM 5.4. There were a lot of performance issues with, I would say, performance issues with rendering pages. So that's why we went this route. And today, we would choose something like this, the official Adobe AEM Hybris integration, where AEM is out in front driving the experience. As I just mentioned, AEM, or Adobe, built this shortly after we did our integration. So it was built in 2002. And a lot of things, or some of the things you see in here will be things that we implemented in our custom integration. But really what made this possible was Adobe addressing performance issues in the product. We've already really seen what CQ5 can make with Nike.com in terms of authoring and creating something with a vivid story. And we've seen a little bit of the authoring experience when you want to integrate products in with content. So I'm not really going to go over how you would do that with this type of integration. What I want to focus on is all the things that CQ5 is doing when it's out in front of Hybris, rendering the pages. It's responsible for driving the experience for product detail pages, the cart, checkout, and order status. So to do that, I'm going to go through a little demo of how the integration works. So here we are in Hybris in the management console. What I've done is I've drilled down into the catalog to take a look at the products. Before the meetup, I imported the sort of the out-of-the-box products that comes along with this integration, and it's called the outdoors or geometric outdoors. So we have men's products, women's products, and equipment and seasonal. There aren't very many products here. There's about 50 with, I think, about 300 variants. So after we've put our products into Hybris, we want to do a little bit of configuration on both sides. So on the Hybris side, you want to, if you're using the out-of-the-box Solar solution, you want to configure the faceted search because all the searching is still primarily done on the Hybris side, searching for products. Then on the CQ5 side, you'd want to configure your catalog versions, so online stage, configure the store that you're importing from, configure the product attributes that you're importing, and how you're importing those into AEM, what properties you're mapping them to. So there's a little bit of work that needs to be done after we put our products into Hybris. So we've got our products here. Then we can actually move on to importing them into AEM. I actually need to decrease the resolution here. So here's the Hybris catalog importer. Now that you can't see this, we've got, for the base store, we've just put in outdoors, catalog outdoors, a language code EN, and we selected the Hybris commerce provider. So then we'll just click on Import Catalog. And try that one more time. Part has been a little buggy. So what should be happening here is we would see our products being imported into CQ5. I think there's actually noticed some issues with changing, oddly enough, changing the zoom in Chrome. So, yeah. So after we've imported our products, we can view them in AEM. So I'll jump over to the AEM side of the world right now. We're inside looking at our geometrics website. And we can dive on in. So right now I'm logged in as a fictional user, Allison Parker. And some of this content right now is being targeted at me. So there's the banner across the top, and then some of the products that I just imported, like sunglasses, women's shorts. And then we can look at the category pages. So these were some of the products that were imported. And then we even have product detail pages in AEM. So the information that gets imported here is it's a lot, or I would say it's similar to the custom integration we did where we're only importing the non-volatile information, like the name, the category, and let me reload the page, and the product summary down at the bottom. And then you can also see the variants we have across here. So we have small, medium, large, extra large, and double X. And after we've imported something, you can actually go back into Hybris. You're still managing all your product information here. So if you wanted to update the summary or the description, product name, you would make those changes here. Then go through the import process I just did if you wanted it to be imported right now. But along with the importer comes a polling importer. So you could configure that to run every evening, every 2 or 3 hours, to automatically import products, but you would obviously want to take into consideration the size of your catalog and how frequently you do it.
You didn't specify the DAM path, so what's the default path that it goes to?
So for the assets, so these assets are actually coming from Hybris. They were uploaded on that side, they're part of the products. So when you do an import, you can either configure this to import that information or that asset into AEM. That's one of the performance things I'll be talking about in a little bit. Or you can not load that asset and have it come out of Hybris.
No, when you're importing it, there was a DAM path. So when you imported it, where did it go? Is there a location that you didn't specify the location?
No.
So what's
no.
the default location?
I don't think it lives under the. It lives under the commerce section.
No, the products.
The products, yeah.
Or
The catalog.
Red Sea.
The catalog that got
No, the
imported.
catalog that gets imported. It's stored under eCommerce.
That's e-commerce?
eCommerce products, then the name of your catalog. So this would be outdoors. I think I have an example of that here. So here's the database. We've got eCommerce products outdoors. So you can configure that kind of thing before you do the import. Another part of the experience that CQ5 or AEM is driving is the cart. So I can add this to my cart right now. I've added one item here. If I add a few items, like 20, you can see I just kicked off a promotion. And the promotions originate on the Hybris side. They're imported. And you have the ability to build your campaigns on the AEM side to associate this event or more than $100 to kick off this promotion. Sort of the same thing with vouchers. I can add a coupon and get a 5% rebate. And how this is all working is that when Allison Parker first logged in and added something to her cart, there was a request sent to Hybris, and it doesn't contain a cookie or in the header or anything like that. There's no session established. The session's created on the Hybris side. It's then returned to CQ5, which gives it back to the client, and it's stored on Allison Parker's browser, and any subsequent request is made through that sort of session.
How granular are the business rules for these types of promotions? What's brought over from Hybris so that AEM can evaluate it based on your cart contents?
So that's a good question. It's not something I've looked to see exactly where the promotions are and how they're brought over. But I know that when we go back over here to Hybris, so say for instance, if we take a look at the cart, that might have been why it was not imported. I wasn't logged in. Yeah, so we can go down to marketing, order statistics, look at carts, search. Here we have Allison Parker's cart in Hybris. We can take a look at the voucher that I applied as well as the promotion. So So the promotion has to originate on the Hybris side. I don't have the details right now about how it gets over to the CQ5, but I know once it's there, you can use it in a campaign.
But is all the cart processing done on Hybris?
Yes.
So like it might just be sending over messaging, like the actual label of the promotion that was triggered.
Yeah.
Whereas, the ability to apply a 5% discount only to certain products, that would all stay over on the Hybris side.
Yeah, it could stay there. They could just make the request.
I think the UI is changing, right? So this is AEM-led UI. So the UI is changing. UI is presenting a promotion in front of it. So it is a segmentation-based thing, right? So there is some list that is coming to AEM.
It's true.
But it's a segmentation that you're
That's a
doing.
type
Yeah,
of
so you
segment.
would have to set up a segment for this in AEM.
Mhm.
So this user had just matched this segment, and there was a campaign or teaser associated with the segment.
Mhm.
And this part right here, this DHL image, is what's been associated with that teaser.
So this all processing happened at AEM, not at Hybris.
That could be the case.
Yeah.
And then once it happens on the AEM side, that's when the information gets sent to
No,
Hybris.
but isn't it the actual promotion configured in Hybris? There's communication between AEM and Hybris for that to happen. Huh?
That
yeah,
is true.
The promotion happens on the Hybris side.
Yeah.
But when you actually, what actually triggers the event for this to happen occurs on the CQ5 side.
Gotcha.
Because it's all part of the client context.
So you're importing those promotions at some point in time.
Yeah.
Right.
So the last thing I want to do is check out. Again, this is all driven, the experience is driven by CQ5, but all the processing still done by Hybris. And you can also configure a lot of this. A lot of this is driven by the commerce session in CQ. It's going back to Hybris to get certain information about delivery. So say, for instance, you had a lot of items, your shipping might be more, or things like that, depending on what your rules are in Hybris. Then I can enter in my credit card number, not my real one.
I was worried.
Yeah.
Click on next. This part's configurable as well. All these forms you see here can be configured in CQ, but a lot of it obviously would depend upon your checkout logic on the Hybris side. Here it's asking me to enter in a security code. And I can submit my order for 20 Bora Bora tops. Now Hybris is processing that order. If we go back to the Hybris side, take a look at orders, do a search. We can see my order here from Allison Parker with my voucher and promotions applied. So here,